All right, let's rock and roll. So quick update on Bitcoin. Nothing different happened than what I thought would happen last week, which was continued chop and a move down. We had some pretty big announcements in the US this week. So unemployment rate, payroll data, job openings, all I think were pretty negative. There's lots of room about us heading into a recession. So I think all of the markets across the board are feeling there's quite a lot of fear out there at the moment. So we saw all, Forex fell through the floor. The US markets, the US 500, US 100, all fell through the floor as well. I mean, not through, at zero, but they had a bit of a pullback. So yeah, I think Bitcoin just reacted in the way that I'd expect, given kind of all of this information. US is obviously a massive powerhouse, and if they're in trouble, the rest of the world is in trouble. So yeah, they kind of set the precedent, I suppose. What is interesting is I'm not going to spend too much time kind of digging into the detail because it just went down. You can clearly see on the daily that this is in a bit of a bear sort of downward structure. Maybe not so much on the daily. Oh no, on the daily, yeah, you've got this high here, you've got a lower high here, a low here, a slight, maybe not a lower low actually, maybe an equal low. So we'll see how that pans out this week. But you certainly had a lower low from here, from here, here, lower, lower, lower. I suspect next week we'll see this potentially hit sub 50. However, there is a bit of a demand zone coming up around here. So there's some volume, but you can see down here there's a huge amount of volume in this area. And I was looking at this yesterday. You might find this interesting. So when a market moves, you're generally one of the strategies that I employ is to look at how big the move was. So we've had the move up to here. This started in October 23, so a big move up. Yes, there was some stopping here. We can have a look at those, but generally, I found that in crypto, when a pullback happens, you generally see a pullback to kind of the 0.6 Fibonacci range or the 0.78, which in this scenario is exactly where this big amount of volume is. So I've been calling 45 for a while. I still think it's very much on the cards. And actually, as I've dug into the data and started looking at some of the analysis tools that I would use when looking to make a trade, that narrative kind of fits. Do we see Bitcoin pull back down to around the 45K range? I personally think so, and that's what I'm holding out for at the moment. I don't think this volume here is going to be enough to hold the price. Maybe we get a push back up to 60K at most, but I'd expect there to be a lot of resistance around this area here, and for that to kind of come straight back down again. And ultimately, yeah, I don't think the downfall will stop until we get to this level here. I'm not going to bore you with the low level, with the kind of smaller, lower time frames. It just makes no difference at this point. We may see slight relief up to 60, but I think the trend is still down. And I will personally be looking for shorts if I choose to take them, or I'll be waiting until we hit kind of sub 50, mid 45s before I start considering buying. And if we have a quick look at, let's not just do Bitcoin today. I think we can do a little bit better. And look a little bit at ETH. God, that looks bad. But this is actually in a slightly different structure. It's still a downward structure. God. So you got higher, lower high here, lower high here, lower high here, and you can see again lower low, lower low, and we've just had another lower low. However, unlike Bitcoin, we are currently in or at a very high area of volume that's going to take quite a lot to break down. So if I had, in fact, I will say that this is probably the low. Maybe we see a slight push down lower than this next week. In fact, I think I'll probably buy some tonight. This is the first time I've looked at this chart this week. This is unscripted. I've just hopped on to do a quick video. But I would see from this range, I would see this kind of bouncing up to around 2.8 and kind of pushing up through these levels. Assuming that bad news doesn't come and we don't get a load of buyers, suddenly coming in and shorting this range. So obviously, if I do buy and I open up a long position with leverage or just buy spot, I'll be keeping an eye on these volume levels to see whether they change and whether we see a load of kind of shorts coming in to push that price down. But from a structure perspective, we've got a lot of actually, I'd say there's more structure down here. That's 1.8. I was waiting for 2 originally. So basically, I'm looking for price to fall back into the structure of the market. There is good structure here. This chart's a mess now. There's good structure here. Quite a lot of structure and quite a lot of volume. That's a positive. However, there's even more over a much longer period of time. So obviously, it's probably quite common sense, but I'd expect if 2.2 breaks down, the next stop will be 1800. I would say maybe 2K. So yeah, interesting. ETH has performed quite badly comparatively to Bitcoin and Solana and all the other ones. ETH's been on a real downward trend, and a very strong one at that. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on this next week. I think ETH will be an interesting one to come back and revisit on Sunday. And lastly, let's take a quick look at Solana. These are the top kind of 3 that I'm interested in, and Solana's had a lot of spotlight since this kind of in the crypto season that's kind of kicked off. So yeah, we've still got this kind of range forming between kind of 200 and 120. Which is I've already drawn the line, which is here. 120 is looking pretty weak. There's no volume there anymore. Again, I've pre-drew these lines on. I'm looking to buy at around 100. I still can't see, from like a sentiment perspective, I can't see anything skyrocketing or this kind of sidewards, choppy, downwards behavior really stopping until the elections are over and people know what's happening. So yeah, if we see 120 break, I'd expect to move down to kind of 100, which I'll be looking to buy at that level. If not, then the next level is, it's 60 at that point. So I guess we see how the elections go, but certainly not buying at 120. That doesn't look like an optimal buy to me, despite the fact the support has been tested multiple times. Generally, if that happens, it gets weaker. That doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes it will test it 5 times and then skyrocket back up. But that's my experience. So yeah, so it certainly wouldn't be looking to short where it is right now. But if we saw a move back up to about 130, 140, as we hit this range here, I would potentially look at shorting that down to about maybe 110, 100. So yeah, summary, everything still looks choppy. I think we're still in a downward trend. I think ETH could be at a good buying level, but we want to see that play out over the next week. Solana, I think, may move lower. Bitcoin, I think, may move lower. And the reality is, I suppose, if Bitcoin goes down, then the market will get really shaky, and ETH will probably break the levels that it's at now, and we'll end up sub 2K. So I think, yeah, maybe a small buy from me now. But I'm personally holding out for those lower levels. Okay, that's it for me. Quick update. I hope you enjoyed it and found it slightly useful. Leave me any comments or questions, and I'll see you next week. Thanks very much. Bye bye.